Well, hello, everyone. I'm Tyler Chrestman, and welcome to the Chrestman Conversation. Today on the podcast, I want to talk about a recent law school graduation ceremony. And this might seem like a little bit of an abstract thing to want to discuss on the podcast, but the reasons why we're going to discuss it will become clear in a moment. I'm not going to play the entire thing. It's about 2 hours long, but I want to highlight a speaker that spoke at this graduation, and then I want to talk about it. And I think the best way to do this is going to be to play the video first, and then we'll discuss why. Now, the person who is about to speak, her name is Fatima Muhammad, and I'm just going to let her speak for herself. So here we go.
And so I'm here to celebrate who and what we are, who you are. Like many of you, I chose CUNY School of Law for its articulated mission to be law in the service of human needs. One of very few legal institutions created to recognize that the law is a manifestation of white supremacy that continues to oppress and suppress people in this nation and around the world. We joined this institution to be equipped with the necessary legal skills to protect our communities, to protect the organizers fighting endlessly day in and out with no accolades, no cameras, no votes, no PhD grants, working to lift the facade of legal neutrality and confront the systems of oppression that wreak violence on them. Systems of oppression created to feed an empire with a ravenous appetite for destruction and violence. Institutions created to intimidate, bully, and censor, and stifle the voices of those who resist. In this moment of celebrating who we are, I want to celebrate CUNY Law as one of the few, if not the only law school, to make a public statement defending the right of its students to organize and speak out against Israeli settler colonialism.
Listen to those cheers.
That this is the law school that passed and endorsed BDS on a student and faculty level. Recognizing that absent a critical imperialism, settler colonialism lens, our work and this school's mission statement is void of value. That as Israel continues to indiscriminately rain bullets and bombs on worshipers, murdering the old, the young, attacking even funerals and graveyards, as it encourages lynch mobs to target Palestinian homes and businesses, as it imprisons its children, as it continues its project of settler colonialism, expelling Palestinians from their homes, carrying the ongoing Nakba, that our silence is no longer acceptable.
Look at that professor in the back there, just clapping his hands. This dummy.
We are the student body and faculty that fought back when investor-focused admin attempted to cross the BDS picket line, saying loud and clear that Palestine can no longer be the exception to our pursuit of justice, that our morality will not be purchased by investors. We are the class that fought for incarcerated clients and zealously filed for their clemency applications with nearly zero institutional support. We are the class that fought for clients to get asylum, that went to court to reunite families torn apart by ACS and the family surveillance. We are the class that organized against using Lexis, a legal research company contracted with ICE. And we did all of this in spite of the racism, in spite of the selective activism, the self-serving interests of CUNY Central, an institution that continues to fail us, that continues to train and cooperate with the fascist NYPD, the military, that continues to train IDF soldiers to carry out that same violence globally. a larger institution committed to its donors, not to its students.
Okay, we can be done there. All right. So, first of all, I just want to say Fatima Muhammad is a bad person. That is just going to be my personal opinion. I do not like her. I believe that if you listen to that speech, there's no way to come away from it and not view it as anti-Semitic and anti-American nonsense. I want to go through and dissect a few things that she said that I just think myself are completely inappropriate and not true. So let's start with the easiest one here. So I would hope most of us can agree she's an anti-Semite. There seems to be no question about this. I think it's a problem that people often confuse criticizing a person or a group with being a bigot, or they conflate the two. You can't criticize a person who belongs to a certain minority group without being racist. You can't criticize an entire group of individuals without being a bigot. This is not true. It is true in lots of cases that when people make blanket statements about giant groups of people, it is coming from a place of bigotry. But you can't say that that is always the case. It often is not the case. So when she says things that are anti-Israel, it is not just that she is presenting herself as on the side of Palestine. She is presenting herself as a bigot. In my opinion, she is a bigot because of the things that she said. It's easy to confuse the situation in Israel with the Jewish people. And what I mean by that is that Israel, there are people who have opinions on it one way or the other. But I think that when you are as anti-Zionist as this person is, that only comes from a place of Jew hatred. That's where that comes from. It doesn't come from a place where she just wants Palestine to be equal and free. It comes from a place where she just doesn't like Jewish people. And we know this by some other things that she said outside of this. We'll get into that in a little bit. But there is this weird thing that happens with the left in the United States, where because the way that progressives and leftists now view the world, they see everything in terms of hierarchy, and they think hierarchy is bad. So everything in the left is power. They believe that everything that takes place in Western society is based on power dynamics. So the power dynamics between white and black, the power dynamics between men and women, the power dynamics between the rich and poor. They view everything through this hierarchy of power. So when you look at the Middle East, they view Israel as the bad guy because Israel is more powerful than Palestine. And if you view the world through a hierarchy of power, then you're going to see Israel as the bad guy because Israel is the powerful one in this situation. But this is a mistake. Israel is not the bad actor in this situation. The bad actor is Palestine. When she says that Israel will continue to indiscriminately rain bullets and bombs down on Palestine, this is just nonsense. This is not true. Israel goes out of its way to not kill innocent people. The exact opposite is true of Palestine. Hamas, Hezbollah, these terrorist groups, they are the ones who indiscriminately try to kill Jews, as many as they can, as much as they possibly can. Then Israel goes out of its way to try and kill terrorists. That's what they do. They do not, and you know this is true because if Israel wanted to, they could wipe Palestine off the face of the earth in an afternoon. That is the power dynamic that's at play here. Israel goes out of its way, painstakingly tries to avoid killing innocent people. You know why innocent people in Palestine get killed? Because Hamas, the terrorist group that runs Gaza, that runs Palestine, they set up their terrorist camps in schools and in mosques. They set them up in hospitals so that when they fire rockets out of a school and Israel is forced to respond by sending missiles into the school, then, Israel looks like the bad guy. Look, they blew up a school. Well, Hamas fires thousands of rockets. Could you imagine this scenario here where any other country on earth is supposed to just tolerate being attacked constantly? If the Mexican government fired a single rocket over the border into Texas, we would own Mexico tomorrow. Mexico would be, America Part 2. Israel is forced to do this every day, and the world condemns Israel for defending itself. It's nonsense. It is a complete inversion of the truth when Fatima Muhammad sits there and says that Israel indiscriminately kills Palestinians. They do not. That is not true. It never has been. Hamas uses the people of Palestine as a human shield. They use women and children in schools and hospitals to hide their terrorist activities. They took aid money. And they take aid money from the world that sends it there misguidedly to support the people who suffer under this terrorist regime. They send money there, and Hamas, instead of buying food and medicine for the citizens of Palestine, what they do is they build tunnels into Israel so they can abduct and murder Jewish people. That's what they use the money for. There are not two good sides in this argument. The people, I'm sure there are some people in Palestine who are good. But the government that governs Gaza, the government that the Palestinian people elected, they explicitly say that they want to kill Jews. That's in the Hamas charter. They want to wipe the Jewish nation off of the face of the earth. There's not two sides to this argument. And this is true because you can play a little experiment in your head. If tomorrow the Palestinian people, Hamas, Hezbollah, if they laid down their weapons and said, let's live in peace, there would be peace tomorrow. If Israel said, we are no longer going to fight, we're going to lay down our guns and be in practice, we're going to just lay down our guns, we're no longer going to fight, we're going to practice pacifism. They said that tomorrow. There would be no more Israel. Every Jew would be murdered. That's the difference. It's not a two-sided argument. So when this person stands up there and says these things, either she believes this propaganda and has been indoctrinated into a cult that wants to destroy Jews, or she's lying, in which case she already believes what she's doing and is doing it deceitfully to further her own propaganda. There's no choice here where she's just a misguided, really good person. I don't see that. I don't think that that's true. I think there are a lot of people who think Israel is bad because they are uneducated and know nothing. This person's graduating law school. She should hopefully know something. Apparently not. The things that she was saying about the CUNY Law School, how both, apparently, the faculty and the students passed resolutions in support of BDS. I almost said BDSM, adding a letter there. BDS is anti-Semitic. There's no way about it. There is one Jewish nation on the face of the earth. If you think that it's appropriate to practice this policy of BDS, which stands for, boycott, divest, sanction, if you think that that's appropriate, if you're spending all of your effort targeting the only Jewish nation on the face of the earth, then yes, that comes from a place of anti-Semitism. She goes on, she mentions the Nakba. The Nakba it's Palestinian for, the Palestinian catastrophe, I think is what that means. It's a lie. The Jewish Knesset, the Congress in Israel, they have condemned this. This is an anti-Israel lie that states that Israel was created. They displaced the Palestinians. They forced them to move. They did all these things. This is not true. There has never been a Palestinian state. Never. It has never existed. It has always been, that section of land has always been divided amongst different nations and different people. The only constant is that the Jewish people have lived there forever. That's the only constant. Jewish people lived in the land of Israel before Islam was a religion. So to say that the Jewish people don't have historic ties there is nonsense, okay? Outside of this anti-Semitism, though, it's also this idea that we have a future lawyers of America who are applauding the idea that the law itself upholds white supremacy. This law school has done a fantastic job of miseducating this person. And apparently a lot of their students who are sitting there clapping at this idea. A lawyer saying that the law is racist, that the idea of a colorblind justice system is nothing but a facade. Those are her words. She attributes everything to upholding colonialist American empire, settler colonialism. She says that so many times, if it was a drinking game, we would have died from alcohol poisoning. The only book that this person ever read was probably Howard Zinn's The People's History of the United States. She stopped reading after that. She thought it was chapter and verse, everything written from the perspective of the victim and painting American history in one certain light. I've read that book. It's not a bad book, but it's just giving you one perspective of these things. There are other perspectives. She read the one from a socialist and historian who gives a socialist perspective, and then use that to justify basically the idea that America's entire history is settler colonialism. It's just nonsense. This is a future lawyer who has read one book, is what it seemed like. Oh, maybe she also read W.E.B. Du Bois. Maybe that's the extent of her American history, okay? Just socialist propaganda from people who have done very poor research. My guess would be, if I was to make a bet that this person, she's not a serious person. This is a child. This child who has never bothered to read anything or study anything that didn't already confirm her priors, I would bet money she has never listened or read to anything she did not already agree with. Except maybe on Twitter. Maybe on Twitter where she sees some stuff and then she comments hateful things. This is a quote from her Twitter, by the way. Quote, "Every Zionist should burn in the hottest pit of hell." Does that sound like a nice person? A person who's really versed on the subject and just is coming from a place of real deep understanding? Or does this sound like every Zionist should burn in the hottest pit of hell? Does this sound like an anti-Semite? It sounds like an anti-Semite to me. The scariest part of this video is the fact that people are cheering. These people, the future lawyers of America, when I used to talk about the problem of free speech on American campuses, I was told it would be confined just to the classroom. Those people are going to graduate. They're going to go get real jobs. When they get real jobs, the real world is going to wake them up. And I argued that this is not true. Those people were graduating lawyers who believe it's their job to undermine the law. They believe America is nothing but racist and evil. These people, lawyers in particular, occupy positions of power in this country. Look at Congress. How many lawyers make up Congress? Look at the people who are around the people in Congress. Lawyers, they clerk for the justices they clerk for justices at the courts. Lawyers, they operate the think tanks where they write papers which influence policy in the country. These people are the people who go forward and make policy in America. And these people don't know anything. They're graduating law school with no education. They haven't read a book that they don't already know the answer to going in. These people should not be in charge. They're children. They're applauding the idea that Israel is a bad actor. The only democracy in the Middle East. 1/5 of Israel's population is Arab. You know how many Jews reside in Palestine? 0, because they would be murdered. And yet, these people applaud this speech from this person. This is not good. This is not good. These people are going to go forward. They're going to influence the way that politics works in America, and they know nothing. Actually, it's worse than that. They don't know nothing. What they know is wrong. They know the wrong things. And there's no way to fix that once they're out in the real world. They're just going to put themselves in their little bubbles. I knew a lawyer who told me that she voted for Donald Trump, but she couldn't say that at work because she worked for a law firm, and she knew for a fact that it would affect her career negatively if she just stated that she voted for Donald Trump. That's where we're heading. And that's not a good place to head. And it's going to be led by people like this and her classmates who applauded that speech that you just listened to. And it's a bad thing. It's a bad thing for the country. It's scary. Anyway, I wanted to highlight this problem because I view this as a continuation of a problem I've been talking about for the last, 7, 8 years. I guess it's been about 8 years I've been talking about this since I wrote my first article on free speech on college campuses. It's 2016 was probably the year. 2015, 2016, somewhere around there. So it's been a long time I've been talking about this, and people have always sometimes mocked the idea that I take it too seriously. But this is why. This is why. It's not getting better. It's getting worse. Colleges are becoming indoctrination centers. They're no longer places where you can go to get an education. They're a place where you go to get indoctrinated. So anyway, we're going to leave it there for the day. As always, questions, comments, like, comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I'll catch you on the next one. Hope you guys have a fantastic day.